We are here to have the regular Planning Commission meeting of March 23rd, 2021. If everyone would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary, would you read the roll call, please?
Yes. Chair Mallory.
Present.
Vice Chair Maldonado.
Present.
Commissioner Ebnetter.
Here.
Commissioner Etheridge is excused. And Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Thank you. I'm going to read a few reminders for our virtual meeting. Due to the physical distancing protocols in place at this time, we continue to encourage public participation remotely. Information on how to provide public comment is explained at the bottom of the published agenda. There are two ways to participate. Join the Zoom meeting by clicking on the link at the top of the agenda. Use the Raise Your Hand button to be called on at the appropriate time. Phone-in participation can be done by calling 408-638-0968 with the conference ID number 818-4548-7121 and passcode 679696. When the item of interest is opened for consideration, press *9 to raise your hand to be called on. When called upon, press *6 to unmute, state your name, and provide your comments. These options for public comment will remain available until I close the public comment period for that specific item. Mary?
So there are two items in the consent calendar. Item 1 is 2110 South El Camino Real and 2175 South El Camino Real, findings of general plan conformance resolution adoption. The second item is archaeological testing and monitoring information report. Is there any member of the commission who would like to pull an item from the consent calendar?
I would like to pull both items.
So both items will be pulled and will be part of new business that will take place after the public comment period.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to skip over consent since we've pulled those two items, and we're going to go to the public comment period. During the public comment period, members of the public may speak on general items of interest within the Commission's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda. Each member of the public may speak for a maximum of 3 minutes with a maximum of 15 minutes for the entire public comment period. The Commission shall not act on or discuss any matters raised during the public comment period that are not on the agenda, but shall refer such matters to staff for review. Mary, do we have any hands raised for the public comment period?
We have no hands raised.
Close public comment period. And we will then go to the next item of business, which is item number 1. Mary, would you read that for us?
Yes, item number 1 is 2110 South El Camino Real and 2175 South El Camino Real, findings of general plan conformance resolution adoption.
Thank you. So we have with us Mr. Mike Callaghy, who is our county manager. And maybe the best thing to do, Mike, is to have you speak about this particular item just briefly, and then we can discuss it maybe among the commissioners.
Chair Mallory and members of the commission, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak exciting issue that the county is involved in right now. As you may or may not know, the county is working with the cities to try to reach functional zero for those experiencing homelessness in San Mateo County. And part of that strategy is the acquiring of hotels around the county. We've acquired 3 so far. One's used as a permanent residential housing for low-income seniors in Redwood Shores. Another one is the Pacific Hotel in Redwood City, and then another one in Half Moon Bay. The reason that we're interested in 2110 and 2175 South El Camino Real is because we are hope to fully decompress our current homeless shelter in Redwood City on Maple Street, knock it down and build a navigation center. And a navigation center will allow us the opportunity to really provide wraparound services in a meaningful way, also house individuals individually, also in congregate settings, so we can put more people on the site, which is the highest and best use of that site. But in order to do that, we need to decompress that site, move people off site for a period of time, and create more residential properties. These properties, like the other ones, will be managed by a partner that the county hires to operate these centers. There'll be a 24-hour presence on the property by the operator. There'll be strict rules for the residents of the property, like no drinking, doing drugs, destroying property, coming and going, curfews, those type of things for the property. And we also, on the other properties, have worked with the neighborhood and the neighborhood associations to make sure that we're good partners. And we want to make sure that we collaborate with them. We want to make sure that we address any of their concerns. And should this move forward, we would be meeting with the property owners in the area so that we can make sure that they understand our plans moving forward. We hope that the long-term use of this property will someday be affordable housing if we build enough of these affordable housing units so that we can move people off of these 2 sites. And these are really temporary sites to get people off the street, especially during COVID, and decompress while we rebuild the Maple Street shelter. And we hope to someday be able to knock these down and use them for affordable housing. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Does anyone on the commission have any questions on this issue?
Through the chair.
Please.
So, Mr. Caligari, I was fortunate enough to watch your presentation to the City Council, I think it was last week. So I found it very interesting and very exciting that the county is spearheading this program. Thank you very much for your efforts. I also found it very encouraging that the homeless count, the official homeless count in San Mateo County, appears to be very low, and a goal of functional 0 seems attainable. Do you put a lot of stock in those numbers and the county's goal, or is it a changing dynamics? How do you really get your hand around the numbers? How do you project what you hope to achieve with the functional 0?
Yeah, really great question. The point in time count that we do every 2 years is an estimate. And the last count was about 1,500. And we had many of those living on the street, many of those living in cars and RVs. But we know that it's really an estimate and not a full count. We hope to deploy later this year an app that will try to beta test in one city that will allow us a more accurate ongoing count of individuals that we would ask, fire personnel and public works and police and anyone who has interaction with the public to utilize so that we can better track and provide services to the homeless. And I think that would give us a more accurate count. But what we hope to do to get to really what your question is, we hope to oversupply the marketplace in that we would have enough shelter beds to really accommodate anyone who wanted to get off the street and start to change their lives in a positive way. And it's not a matter of someone immediately getting a hotel room, because I think that would be counterproductive. We're going to have to put them in probably the congregate setting where we can evaluate them understand the services that they need, and then appropriately place them when the appropriate time comes for them to start living on their own, and move them to a system of permanent housing. We know that we're a housing first population. I mean, this is a county here. So when we're dealing with this population, we can't possibly begin to really address the needs of these individuals until we make sure that they have housing. So when we talk about finding people jobs or dealing with addiction, we've got to make sure that they have housing before we address those issues. And that's why we hope to get everybody that wants to come off the street a place to live, so that we can start really getting them and moving them to permanent housing long term. And we do think it's attainable.
Fantastic, great. I hope you don't mind if I ask you a couple more questions, because
please.
having you here is very educational for me, and it's a subject that I very much am interested in. So do the navigation centers, are they housing, or is that just a daytime? How does that program work?
Yeah, they're both. If you can imagine the homeless shelter as it exists now, with more wraparound services so that we can address all issues. And we do a very good job right now of housing people, getting them off the street, but it's more difficult to give them the services that they need to transition out of homelessness. For example, the Pacific Hotel in Redwood City, which is about 75 rooms, we expect to expend about $2.5 million a year on services for those individuals there, in the hope to get them permanently out of housing. And that's where the smart money is. It's instead of continuing to warehouse people in a way that we get them off the street, we get them shelter, but there's no way out. We want to create that avenue and create that plan for them to exit someday to affordable housing, or exit into a situation where they've got a job where they can move into an apartment, maybe out of the area. Maybe it's in Sacramento, maybe it's in the Valley, but we got to get them stabilized first. We've got to give them a place to live and give them the resources and skills necessary to make it on their own. So it's really about the wraparound services that we give them in order for them to advance out of homelessness.
Fantastic. Well, great. That's it for now, Chair. Back to you.
Margaret or Ramiro, do you have comments or questions?
I have a question. Thank you, Mike, for going in detail, and I also watched your presentation to the City Council. I understand that you currently have two community partners, I believe Life Moves and Samaritan House, overseeing both each one of your in Half Moon Bay and in Redwood City. Have you chosen the community partner who would be overseeing these different properties? Or not yet?
No, we've got another great partner, and we hope also down in East Palo Alto with Pastor Baines. We have it, and typically what we like to do is make that a part of the community process with the city. In the partnership, we'd like to make sure that we understand the criteria that the community is looking for to help us. We would go out for an RFP and see who applied for that, and then we would try to really fit that vendor, that operator, with the needs of the community, the needs of the city around that area. The great thing about these particular sites is we've got services, county services right in the area. It's got great transportation, great shopping, great places to buy food and so on. And we would love for these individuals to become part of the community in a meaningful way, while building upon their skills and in dealing with any potential issues that they may have.
Okay. I have one final question. I understand that the county is looking for other properties throughout the county. How did the county get in contact with the business owner or the owner of these properties? Like, was it intentional to choose properties in the city of San Mateo, or how did you get to know that these were for sale?
Yeah, we've had many solicitations from around the county. Once we project Home Key came down from the state, and that program got established in this county, we've had several hotel, motel operators ask us if we were interested in buying. And that was the case here also. We've also sent out RFPs asking for any interested hotels to contact us and And that was probably the way that this one came about.
All right, thank you.
Margaret, did you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Yeah, I mean, generally, it sounds like a great idea. I'm sorry I missed the presentation to City Council, but thank you for filling us in, and the packet was helpful. But I don't know if this was in the information provided, but to us in the packet, but I have like some sort of like nitty gritty questions, I guess, being the person that thinks about the space and the building, like
Sure.
what's actually in there. So, so I'm just curious, do they get retrofitted with any kitchen sort of, you know, appliances, like a half refrigerator or a microwave or a sink other than the bathroom sink?
I can admit, Commissioner, I don't know what's in there right now. That would not be in our immediate plans to do that.
Mhm.
We would be creating a situation where we provided meals 3 times a day, whether we moved a modular onto the property
Oh, okay.
and turned that into a some form of kitchen. We'd also, in other areas, we're utilizing the restaurants in the area to provide meals. So we also simulate the local economy by doing that. But I'm not, I really, as I sit here today, don't understand what the full plan will be there, whether we'll put in a kitchen and have Samaritan House deliver meals, for example, or utilize local restaurants. But we will be providing the meals to the residents there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then along the same lines, I was wondering about laundry services. Do those motels already have that on site, or would that be a service that was added for the use of the residents?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Typically, they do have laundry services on site because of the cleaning service that they do in these motels, utilizing the washer and dryer to change sheets and so on. And usually they're industrial size, so we typically examine the viability of those appliances once we do our inspection. We have started our preliminary inspections of these sites, but I don't have the details on how many machines but we'd be doing the same thing there, that utilizing the equipment they have on site.
Okay. Yeah. The other question I had is kind of, hard to answer now that we're in a pandemic and in shelter in place, but previous to, 2020, were these pretty much like underutilized? I'm assuming these were underutilized motels that were not really, highly, I guess just underutilized for what they are.
I think some were. I think that certainly COVID has exacerbated that situation exponentially. We had a presentation today by the Hotel and Convention Bureau of San Mateo County that showed the devastation that the hotels have suffered through this pandemic. And it is incredibly amazing, the loss of jobs, the loss of revenue, the loss of income coming into the region. They figured 25,000 jobs have been lost because of the hotel and convention business in this county. So I think that that has been the impetus for many of these hotels to go on the market. I can tell you that prior to the pandemic, we were looking for the right situation, the right hotel, motel to buy to start down this path of functional zero. And we thought that this was the way out of it, or at least the way to start down the road. So it was somewhat fortuitous that Project Home Key did come about and allowed us to deal with many of the homeless that we found during the COVID crisis that were in such danger because of pre-existing medical conditions, that we were able to isolate in hotels. We ran a 100-room hotel for 9 months in Burlingame on Hotel Row there. And it went very well. We learned a lot of things, and it went very well.
Yeah. And, it may be that perhaps it's helpful to take like sort of underperforming motels off the hotel and motel market and utilize them for something else, such as the shelter proposition. And, which then, takes these underperforming units off, but then probably, hopefully gives a boost to other hotels that are still operating as hotels. So
that's a very good point. We did have a study done on the displacement of TOT, and our analysis was that or at least a vendor we hired indicated that their belief would be that just like you said, that when people come to a region, they want to stay in that region, and if the hotel closes, that they'll go to another hotel, typically in the city that they wanted to stay. So I think you're right in that regard.
So maybe that helps boost the, without losing, multiple hotels and motels, we boost some and, provide those jobs, hopefully.
Right.
So could be a win-win for that industry as well, hopefully.
Right.
Great. Yeah, sounds like a great idea as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks, Margaret. Okay, that leaves me. So I also enjoyed watching the city council presentation, and I got a lot of information from that that helped me in my thinking this through. One question I had is, have you gotten the appraisals yet on those two properties? And if so, were they positive?
We haven't received those yet, and we expect to receive them sometime this week. My real property manager has taken a week off, a well-deserved week off. I think he closed 4 major deals in December, working night and day. So I expect to have that appraisal information by next week.
Super. So when I was thinking through this, I felt very strongly that these two properties are in a great location along El Camino, close to the Safeway, close to the shopping center, to the Caltrain stations. And both of those properties have recently been renovated. I say recently, maybe in the past 5 years, which is a good thing. So you can hit the ground running when you go in. You wouldn't have to do a lot of major renovation. And I think that using the exemplary nonprofits that have operated shelters around here is such a great way to handle the program, and they know what they're doing, and it's definitely enables it to get up and running quickly. My one caveat here is that I found out about the Half Moon Bay and the Pacifica and the Redwood City properties through the media. And so that sort of formed my opinion of how things went, because that was the information that I got. I'm glad I listened to the presentation for the city council because it sort of balanced things out. But I think what my concern is on these two properties is that it be transparent to the properties that have businesses around them and the residential areas behind. And I feel like, just from what I gleaned from the media reports, was that people got a little up in arms when they found out what was happening. And so I just wanted to be sure that the process here included reaching out to the community as soon as possible and giving them the county's presentation so that they have all the facts and it's not sensational in any regard. Because what has been said many times is that once they understand what's happening, then they're okay with everything that's going on. So I do want to encourage the county to maintain that transparency and really bring the community in as soon as it's possible, when things are more firmed up.
Yeah, Chair Mallory, that's a great point, and a lot of lessons learned from the other acquisitions that we made. One of the things that it was so difficult because we were the last ones in the state, literally in the state, to get home key money. And they said, you've got to close it within, I think it was like 20 days. So in order to get the money. So, we had all along hope to get every round. We were literally in the last, they even actually closed it off and then they created another round. We were the last ones to get money. So it really put us in a time bind as far as getting out and informing the community. Here we have more time. We actually don't even have a deal yet. We don't even have an appraisal yet. We don't even know if the deal will come together yet. And we've got different options if it doesn't, not necessarily in this area, but there's other hotels that have asked us to take a look at them. So we've got different options. But we absolutely, and we want to engage the community. And we have found once you do engage the community, there's an understanding of this is just not going to be a free-for-all. These are going to be strictly run locations and with rules and policies and procedures and 24-hour coverage. And our objective there is to get these folks off the street into housing so we can deal with some of the issues they have, so we can transition them to permanent housing and certainly impact the entire society. These folks are out there now on the street, living in the rain and in the cold and in the, scrounging for food. We want to change that, and we can do it in a meaningful way. But absolutely, we believe that the city and the community have to be our partners as we move forward with these ventures.
That would be great.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I wanted to kind of piggyback what Ellen had said, that I had heard of the other facilities also, which there was some public back and forth, which apparently worked out just fine. I was a little surprised that we have gotten to this point with these projects, in the point where we're being asked to approve this amendment to the general plan. And maybe this should be a question to Gabrielle. This needs to be done now to make sure that the county is purchasing a property that they can use for how they want to use that. Is that the steps we're taking?
Yes, this is the very, very, very first step in a very long process. And so the government code provides that whenever a county is going to acquire property, the local planning agency needs to make a finding as to whether or not the proposed use conforms with the general plan. And so this is like step one. And then, there is also case law holding that government uses within city limits are exempt from local building and zoning regulations if the use is for a county governmental purpose. And so we haven't gone that far yet, but I mean, it seems likely that this proposed use will fall within that exemption from local zoning regulations. But what we do need to do is make the finding regarding general plan conformance to start the process.
Sure, it makes sense. I would think that, as Mr. Kalki has said, the more out in front we are on this, the better it's going to be for everybody. You guys know that better than anyone. I love the program. I think it's a great use of properties that may be distressed. I also visited the properties. I don't live very far from them at all, and they look great. Locations are excellent. And what I'm even more excited about is in 5 years, when we don't have homeless people and we can build new facilities on these properties that may turn into low-cost housing that people who were unrepresented in the past could possibly be able to purchase homes at a great, less price mark than a market rate facility. But there's so many options here. I'm just so happy the county is spearheading this program and moving around the county and making purchases.
Well, thank you. And like Gabrielle said, we've got a long ways to go on this. This is just the first. And we bring this to you really in abundance of caution, in that this is the first step, knowing that this deal may never even come to fruition. We've got a long ways to go before that happens. We do have other opportunities around the county if this doesn't happen. We do think that this is a great location. It's a great owner who has so far been very willing to work with us, and we all anxiously await the appraisal. That will really be the determining factor.
Sure. That was it, Ellen.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have any questions for Mike? Okay, thank you, Mike.
Absolutely, great seeing you. Take care.
And so now we will vote on the resolution. And
Ellen, I think we do have some public comment.
oh, we do. My goodness, yes. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
I'm just blazing the trail here.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Why don't we have our public comment?
Okay. So Rita Borg, you can go ahead and speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having this meeting. It's actually the first time I'm participating in a local city meeting. I would like to address and follow up on what Commissioner Williams mentioned earlier about like the buildings themselves that you guys are planning to purchase. There's no kitchenette, so there is definitely, you know, there will need to be modifications to the building. And then I have a question. Are you guys planning to put individuals in the buildings or will it be families?
At the end of our public comment, we will have staff address your question.
Okay, all right. And then if maybe you can also explain the wording that the county manager Callaghy mentioned earlier, the phrase home key money. I'm not familiar with that. Is that like federal funds or are those city funds, like from the city? And even considering, another question that I have is are these properties gonna be used for local San Mateo residents or are people gonna be brought from all over the state? That's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rita.
Okay, the next speaker we have is John Cregan.
Actually, it's Charmaine Messina. I couldn't figure out a way to change his name on the Zoom. I thank you very much for opening this meeting up. I was not at the City Hall presentation, so I didn't see the slides that Mr. Callaghy presented earlier. I really do want to underscore what Ms. Mallory said about making sure that the community is engaged. I live in a neighborhood close to the two hotels, and I was blindsided when I saw just the article in the newspaper. So I would like to know more specifically, what is the process for community dialogue and informing the community? Will that be before or after you close on the properties? Because it would seem to me that, especially as far as the democratic process, it would be important to at least have the community understand what's going on, and certainly understand more specifically what sorts of security checks you'll have, what kinds of safety measures will be there. Because there are residential areas right adjacent. And I'm sure that, as Ms. Mallory said, the adjoining businesses will also be very interested in that.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Adam Lorraine. Adam, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Planning Commission and County Manager Callaghy and staff. My name is Adam Lorraine. I'm a 20+ year resident of the city of San Mateo. I also happen to be a Sustainability and Infrastructure Commissioner with the city, but I am speaking today as a resident with my own opinions in support of this proposal. And I just feel privileged to have the opportunity to be with you tonight and to have seen you in the city council meeting last week as well. In my feeling, those are two community meetings that have already begun. These are open to the public, and as a member of the public, I am attending these for the purpose of obtaining information about this project, and I feel I have obtained some extra information tonight, so I appreciate receiving it. And think that it's a great idea, as Commissioner Ebnetter mentioned. It seems to address a number of issues in a cost-effective manner. I appreciate the conversation that other commissioners brought to the table tonight, and really looking forward to the next steps. So thank you very much to County Manager Callaghy and the county for partnering with the city and the commission and the council, and in further next steps with the community in making this good work happen. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Adam.
Okay, the next speaker we have is Steve Chandlis. Steve, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. I have several questions, but I'm really going to just focus on one for now. I'm curious as to why two properties were purchased so close to each other. When I did some research about this topic, I realized that we have 20 cities in San Mateo County, and 5 or more of them have significant homeless populations. So I'm trying to understand, what is the property purchasing strategy for this effort?
Okay, and I'm going to have staff respond to your questions after we have heard everybody from the public. So if you have other questions, if you want to give them to us now as well, you can.
I have 2 other questions.
Okay.
One is this what are the occupancy rules for the properties? Are they daytime occupancy or only nighttime occupancy? So I'm curious as to, what's the daytime effect of the population in, the El Camino and 20th Avenue area. So that's one question. And then the other one is, in my readings, it talks about what services would be provided. And it says there's a wraparound services. So I'm curious, I'd like to have more specificity around what those services are. So is that like mental health services? Is that substance abuse services? Is it, I'm not really sure what that would be. So it'd be helpful to know more specifically. And those are all my questions.
Okay, thanks, Steve. We'll get back on those.
Okay, there is one more speaker at this time, and that is Jordan Grimes. Jordan, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Thank you. Sorry, it took a moment for the unmute to show up. Good evening, commissioners. Jordan Grimes, 19th Avenue Park. Just wanted to chime in and share support for these projects. As we all know, affordable and transitional housing is really badly needed in the area, and we should really jump at any opportunity we're given to address the need. Also really glad to hear that the second site can still be utilized despite the zoning issues as well. Because there was some talk and discussion on community forums about who is going to be living in these, in these projects. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how homelessness happens. So per the Bay Area Economic Institute, regarding the causes of homelessness in the Bay Area, only 17% of those suffering from homelessness in the Bay Area describe their situation as stemming from substance abuse issues. The vast majority were due to job loss, evictions, and cohabitation instability conditions like divorce, all of which have accelerated during the pandemic. Homelessness in the Bay Area is primarily about housing unaffordability and housing unavailability more than anything else. So conversions of these units is really important in helping meet the need. And then just lastly, I heard some comments about bringing in the community, and that is something that I support. But I do hope that when we talk and think about the community and community input and community needs, we're thinking about and prioritizing the people in our community who need shelters and affordable housing, as well as those nearby. But I do hope that we focus primarily on the people who really need this. So I hope we'll move forward with this as fast as possible. I hope that we'll be able to, that the city council will be able to consider a general plan amendment if necessary for the second site. And frankly, I hope that in the future, during the general plan process, we can initiate an affordable housing zoning overlay like other cities are considering, so that we don't miss out on opportunities like this in the future because of weird zoning rules. Thank you.
Okay, Mary, are we?
There's no more speakers.
There are no more speakers. Julia, how would you like to handle maybe getting some answers to some of these questions? Mike, I'm sure you have some answers to them also.
I do. I'm certainly willing to give them.
I think this is Julia Klein. Hold on 1 second. I think a lot of the questions would actually be better coming from Mr. Callaghy.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you again, and all very good questions. Let me start with the kitchenettes. You're right. They typically don't have kitchenettes in them, but we'll be providing food service for all the residents 3 times a day. We might move a small modular kitchen onto the property to handle breakfast and lunch, and then we typically bring in dinner for all of the residents. Home Key are state funds that Governor Newsom had distributed to the state for this very purpose, to buy hotels, to accommodate the homeless and get them off the street during the middle of a crisis, and then to utilize them ongoing and hopefully someday convert them to affordable housing. So there are no more Home Key funds. We were lucky enough in that last round to be able to purchase the 2 hotels in Redwood Shores and Pacific Inn, and then use CARES money for the 3rd one in Half Moon Bay. Local residents, absolutely, we want to get them involved. Commissioner Lorraine really articulated what our process was, and that was first to get it out into the public via the paper support, so we could start the discussion, and then we went to the city council meeting to get it more public, and then here in a preemptive way, we brought it to the Planning Commission before we needed to get even more exposure. But I can tell you that we're ready to have community forums anytime, as soon as possible, to start answering questions and to get the public involved. We'd leave that up to the city to tell us where and when they would like those, and we're willing to do as many of those as possible so we get as much input from the public as possible. In regard to the purchasing strategy, we saw economies of scale here. If we're going to decompress our current shelter, and we feel that that is the most expedited way to go ahead and build a navigation center instead of trying to do it piecemeal. If we could just decompress it on the land we have right now, we've got to raise the land, I think 14 feet, and then build. It would be the quickest, easiest, fastest way to do it. So we need to take those folks out of the shelter and move them into a setting. And as far as the economies of scale, it made sense that we have a vendor, same vendor, that can operate about 100 rooms, which they're accommodating now at the shelter, with dealing with about 100 clients at the shelter right now. This would be obviously the residence of these individuals. Each one would be assigned a room. Typically, they're singles to a room. I think we have a couple of married individuals living in a couple of the shelters. Shelter rooms, so there might be 2 maximum to a room. They are free to come and go during the day. There's a curfew. Like I said, indicated, many of them work, which is that's why this is such a great location, because of the bus service right there and the train very close by. And as far as the services that we provide, you can imagine the needs of individuals, and we provide basically across the board for all those needs, whether it's employment services, financial resiliency, mental health services, medical services. A lot of these individuals have been on the street for a long time, have a lot of medical issues, and that's what makes them so vulnerable. Certainly recovery services from addiction. So across the board, we provide all those services, and that's what we really call the wraparound services, kind of a whole care model for these individuals. If I missed any questions, I tried to get them recorded here, but if I missed any, I'm happy to answer any ones that the commissioners have.
Do we have everybody's question answered? I confess I didn't make a list.
I was writing, this is Julia. I was writing a few of the public questions. There was one question about what type of funds was that covered in terms of the federal or city funds?
The state funds.
Yeah, there were state funds.
State funds, correct. Okay. And then services provided. I think that was it. Those were all the questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Are we good now with looking at the resolution?
Are there questions about security from I think the first person that spoke? I'm not sure that, I don't know if that was addressed.
Security meaning?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Someone to be there 24/7.
I think that the first person had a question about that, or maybe it wasn't the first person. One of the speakers.
That there would be someone on site.
Yeah, there was. I think they asked if that could be addressed in the community meeting, but I'm happy to address it here also. And that is, yes, we typically do have security on site, and we have a 24-hour presence from the operator who will be on site also. Always 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day.
Okay.
We'd also certainly, partner with street medicine and our mobile clinics, whether it's dental or health, to, they stop by there and make sure that everyone gets the medical attention and needs that they have for regular checkups.
Perfect. Okay. Are we ready then to look at the resolution?
Staff member Summer Smith has that available and she can pull that up.
Okay. And I'm gonna. All right. So the commission is tasked with adopting a resolution finding that the proposed purpose and extent of San Mateo County's acquisition of the real property located at 2110 South El Camino Real conforms to the general plan, and that the proposed purpose and extent of San Mateo County's acquisition of the real property located at 2175 South El Camino Real does not conform to the general plan. And do we have any more comments or questions from the commissioners?
I have a question.
Okay.
I guess I don't quite understand what this resolution means for the property at 2175 South El Camino. What is the next? I know, I understand it's the first in a long process, many steps involved. But so the fact that we're adopting a resolution that one of the properties does not conform to the general plan, so then that is part of the general plan.
This is Gabrielle Whelan, Assistant City Attorney, and so the state statute requires that the local planning agency make this determination. And so it's step one. And then if this project were to be subject to local zoning regulations, the city would need to adopt a general plan amendment in order for the project to go forward. We're not at this stage yet, but it seems probable that this project will not be subject to local zoning regulations because it's a project that is within the governmental mission of the county. And if that in fact turns out to be the case, no general plan amendment would be required.
Okay, thank you for repeating that. You did explain that earlier. Appreciate it.
Okay, is someone willing to make that motion?
I would like to make that motion. Do I need to read it again, Gabrielle, or are we good?
You can say that you would like to move that the commission adopt the staff recommendation.
I would like to move that the commission adopts to accept the resolution.
Thanks,
or
John.
adopt the resolution. Thank you. We have a second?
I second it.
Thanks, Romero. Mary, can we have a voice vote, please?
Yes. Chair Mallory?
Yes.
Vice Chair Maldonado?
Yes.
Commissioner Etheridge?
He's absent.
Oh, I'm sorry, he's absent, yes. Commissioner Ebnetter?
Yes.
And Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes 4-0 with 1 absence. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, and we will move on to item number 2, which is the archaeological testing and monitoring information report.
So this is Julia Klein, Principal Planner with the City of San Mateo. This item was requested to be pulled off of consent based on questions. I believe that one or more commissioner had a few questions, so staff is available to answer questions. The project site, just for context for those that are in the audience, the project site is located at 303 Baldwin. It is currently under construction for a multi-story, 5-story mixed-use project with ground floor retail, offices, and retail and residential units above. And the site is located in an area identified near San Mateo Creek. And so there, during the planning application review process, there was the potential for archaeological findings. And in the staff report that was provided for this meeting, staff provided a summary of the different technical reports that were provided. And the conclusion by the consultant archaeologist who has been monitoring the site during construction, and their findings that there has been no significant evidence of Native American artifacts. There have been monitoring of the project site itself through February, and that report is included as an attachment to the staff report. During this week and the subsequent weeks, there is ongoing monitoring of the excavation work that's in the public right-of-way surrounding the project site. So that is the summary of the current status of the construction and monitoring. Staff is available for questions.
Super, thank you. I was the one that wanted to pull it off. So does anyone else have any questions or comments on this before I launch in?
I do not.
No, okay. Okay, I will say my piece. I did attend the construction training last Friday out at the site. And I was concerned about that because I had read the Holman report, which was done in 2018. I had written a piece for the Daily Journal on that report. And there was, according to the Holman report, a very high likelihood that there were historic resources underneath the TRAG site. The Basin report, as everybody read, says there is a low likelihood that there are archaeological resources underneath the site. So what concerns me about this is that we have two completely opposite sides of the spectrum for what was determined in these reports. Basin did do trenches throughout the site. I don't feel that they did do the trenches over in the northwest corner. There's one small one, but that was where a lot of the original core samples found intact midden. So midden, you know, shells and whatever, that's not very ecologically important. But in a lot of cases under these shell mounds, there are burials. But in talking with Julia, she did mention that with all of the various culvert work and the building over the years, that dirt was scooped up and distributed around the county for whoever needed fill. So if there were archaeological resources, they could be in Foster City now, they could be in Redwood City, they could be in Redwood Shores. So I just wanted to put on the record that I was concerned of the very differing results on the Basin and Holman reports. And I just wanted to make that statement. So thank you for allowing me to do that. Comments, questions? All good. Okay. So that takes us to...
Mary, is there any public comment on this item or no?
Yes, there is one.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm very sorry. Please.
John, are you there? John?
I think John is muted.
He's muted.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute him, but it's not working here. I think he spoke earlier, so it disabled his ability to speak. Let me try it again. It's not allowing me to unmute him at this point. I don't know if there's a problem with it.
No, if *6 to unmute.
Alternatively, maybe the speaker could type the question in the chat box.
I don't think it allows for
okay.
comments via
okay.
a chat box.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm going to try one more thing here. The only thing other option I think of is if he gets off the meeting, gets back on, he might be able to.
Actually, I didn't realize that was me. That was a previous, I had a question on the previous item, which was that so not about the archaeological, sorry, but I don't believe my question about what the timing was with respect to community dialogue and the closing of the hotels was answered. And unfortunately, the item's already passed, but perhaps the city planning folks could let me know that or could tell me now.
This is Julia Klein. We can follow up with the county manager after this meeting. And if you can send us your contact information to Mary Way, the secretary, we will go ahead. I'll be sure to reach back out to you.
Okay, Mary Way. Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, because I just wanted to know what that was. Sorry, I didn't realize you were talking to me.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The joys of Zoom.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then are there any more speakers on the archaeological testing and monitoring?
There are none, Ellen.
Okay, thank you, Mary. All right, that brings us to our reports and announcements.
So this is Julia Klein again. I do have several items to announce. We have upcoming meetings, community workshops for the general plan and housing element. This week, starting tomorrow, we actually have on March 24th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and this Saturday, March 27th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. These two workshops will include the exact same information. These are the introduction to the general plan update effort. The meetings will be recorded, and so we are hoping that everybody can register on strivesanmateo.org, and let me spell that out. It's www.strivesanmateo.org. You can register in advance for one or both meetings. In addition to that, there are 4 more meetings for the community coming up. The next 2 meetings are the introduction to the housing element. One is happening on Tuesday, March 30th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And the next one is Saturday, April 3rd from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Again, go to that website to register. And the last group of workshops is on it's called Imagining Scenarios for San Mateo's Future. These are about the general plan draft alternatives. And the two meetings are Thursday, April 15th from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and Saturday, April 17th from 9:30 a.m. to noon. We encourage everybody in the community to register and attend the workshops and bring a friend or two. The more, the better. This is a community's opportunity to talk about housing or housing needs and also planning for San Mateo's future. In addition to that, I wanted to mention that the Commission recently reviewed draft accessory dwelling unit ordinance. The ordinance was introduced to the City Council on March 15th and is scheduled for adoption on the Commission's, on the City Council's agenda for April 5th. In regards to the next Planning Commission meeting, which is on April 13th, we currently have one agenda item, and that is for the Bay Meadows Development Agreement status review. And lastly, I wanted to mention to the Commission, if you have not already signed up for the Virtual Planning Commission Academy training, which will begin on March 25th this week, over a span of, I believe, 3 or 4 days. If you are interested and available, please reach out to Mary Way for assistance in registering. And that concludes staff's reports and announcements.
Thank you.
May I ask a question about the training?
Sure.
Would that be the same training we went to in person a year ago?
It is.
In the beginning of March. Is it recommended to go once a year, or if we've been last year, is that adequate for now?
There will be some materials that are repeat or refresher information this year. Given that we are in the pandemic, some of the information that would be shared will likely be more relevant to the current times. If you have attended last year, we generally don't say you need to do it this year. You can go every other year. Yeah. But if you are available and you're interested, certainly sign up.
Seems like it was years ago since it was in-person conference. But yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments by the Commission? No, meeting is adjourned.